Welcome back to another episode of After the Whistle. I'm Noah Genson.
I'm Mike Mahaffy. Let's get right into it.
The Grand Valley State women's basketball team picked up 4 wins and 1 loss since our last show, as they were beat by Northern Michigan 43-56, but also beat Michigan Tech 53-35, Davenport 82-53, Wayne State 78-50, and the number 3 ranked Ashland Eagles 73-71. The most exciting of the 5 games had to have been the last one mentioned, as a steal from Victoria Hedemark led to a clutch layup by Natalie Koenig with 2 seconds left that would ultimately be the game winner. GVSU was able to break Ashland's home winning streak that was previously 50 games long. After the impressive win, the Lakers improved to 19-2 on the year, as well as 12-1 in the GLIAC. They look to pick up 2 more wins at home this week as they face Purdue Northwest on Thursday, February 7th, before matching up against Wisconsin Parkside 2 days later. Thursday's game tips off at 6 p.m. and Saturday's tips off at 1.
The Grand Valley State men's basketball team was not as successful in these past 3 weeks as the women were, as they've lost to Michigan Tech in overtime 87-91, Northern Michigan 61-70, Davenport 59-80, and Wayne State 78-86 before snapping their losing streak with a win over the 7th-ranked Ashland Eagles 60-53. The win on Saturday against the Eagles marked the first time that GVSU has won on the road since December 16th. But 19 second-half points from Hunter Hale helped lead the Lakers to outscore the Eagles 47-26 in the second half with free throws from Hale and Ben Lubitz slashing the Eagles' throats and icing the game for the Lakers. This wasn't the only impressive game for Hale this weekend, as he posted a career-high 31 points and 8 threes in the loss to Wayne State 1 day prior. In the time since our last show, the men's team has fallen to 12-9 on the year. It remains sub-500 in the GLIAC at 6-7. They face Purdue Northwest this Thursday at 8 p.m. before playing Wisconsin Parkside on Saturday at 3.
Grand Valley State's softball team is gearing up for the start of their season. The Grand Valley State Sports Report has more on the team.
While metropolitan Chicago was colder last week than parts of Antarctica, Dana Callahan's softball team was marching ahead with plans for its season opener in Illinois. Grand Valley's veteran squad starts 2019 with 4 games, indoors thankfully, in Rosemont, Illinois, before heading to Florida for 12 games in March. And Callahan is hoping before her team has to dip into its supply of sunglasses and sunscreen, the Lakers will be on track to equal or eclipse last year's 44-9 record.
They've been very focused this year so far. We're getting into where we're doing some live scrimmaging and things like that, so it's always fun to see where we stand a couple weeks into the season or into the practice mode. A couple weeks away, the season will be starting, and so they're very, very focused and very hungry on this year.
The Lakers were poised for a national championship run last year when they suffered a 1-0 home NCAA tournament defeat at the hands of Hillsdale. Grand Valley fought back to make it to their super regional title game, but never really recaptured the form it had during the regular season. As a result of that Hillsdale loss, Lakers seniors and veterans want to keep in mind just how important each game can be.
I think that's our goal going into this season, is to just focus on the day-to-day and make sure that every single week and every single game we play, we're getting a little bit better and learning from the previous, and not so much focusing on the end, but knowing that we want to peak at the end and play our best softball then. So I'd say that's kind of our focus going in this season.
I was not happy with where we finished up last year. I think that we had a couple hiccups in postseason, and that we just didn't play the way we needed to. And so in practice right now, I've just been really pushing everybody. Every rep's intentional, and thinking about, going back and playing Southern Indy, and making sure that we get that W, and again, making sure that we make it to postseason and we make that run that we want.
Since arriving on the scene, Reinhardt and Lepovsky have been starters and leaders on the Lakers squad, and they're hoping the stars all align this season for their team. As the #1 starting pitcher on the staff, Lepovsky has gone 49-10 in her college career and was a first-team All-America choice in 2018, as well as the Midwest Region Pitcher of the Year. But past accolades don't always translate into future success for pitchers, and Dana Callahan is eager for her ace to find areas of improvement in her game in her last go-round.
Hitters are going to know her, just like we're going to know their hitters. We're going to know their weak spots. So we gotta play to our strengths, but we also need to know what the other hitters are capable of and defend that. So Allison's worked very hard over the last 4 years, and she has developed her pitches tremendously in that time since she came in as a freshman. She's stronger. I don't know if her speed's improved at all or not, but she's just a little bit more wily, and so she understands as far as where she needs to put her pitches, and she needs to make those pitches move a little bit more.
I've really been working hard on my mental game, and then I've also added a couple pitches to my repertoire, so I'm going to throw in a couple more pitches this coming year. I'm very confident in throwing those pitches. Again, everybody does know that I have the pitches that I have, and so just making sure that they're better and that I can better locate them, and just kind of throwing them more in a key situation, setting up hitters with the ones that I've learned this last year, and then being able to get the strikeouts that I can normally get. And so it's really going to be more so setting up the hitters and then getting them with the strikeout pitch that I have, and just continuing to work hard. I don't take any day for granted. I am getting, this is my 4th year here, and so just making sure that I'm still fighting for my position, because no position's given basically, and so just making sure that every day I go out and do what I have to do, and proving that I am the number one, and that I will go out and get those wins for my team.
With Reinhardt on the lineup card each day, either behind the plate or in the outfield, Grand Valley has solid returnees at several other positions. Sophomore Nakoma Holman started every game in 2018 and led the team in home runs, while Kelsey Latour and Brooke Henning return after each starting 50 games last spring. And shortstop Shannon Flaherty is hoping for a bounce back at the plate after hitting .325 in 2017.
Shannon struggled a little bit last year. There was a lot of timing issues that she had, and it wasn't anything mechanical per se, but there was a lot of timing, a little anxious on things that she needed to wait for. She's worked very hard this fall and through these winter months to refine that swing, and she's looking very, very good in batting practice and the live pitching that we've seen so far. So I'm looking for her to make that turnaround, and I think she's very confident in what she's doing right now, and I'm just excited for her senior year.
Last year was definitely just like a trying season, and I think just with like my mindset and kind of a lot of things not going the way I wanted, I've reflected on that and took that opportunity as a chance to like grow, and so I'm just gonna come back this year with kind of like a different goal in mind and try to look at things in just like a more positive light and just try to have fun with this last season and make it the best one yet.
Of Grand Valley's 52 scheduled games this year, 26 will be played before the Lakers ever set foot on their home diamond. But despite the graduation loss of number 2 pitcher Allie Grizz and catcher Jessica Ramos, it's a team that looks ready to challenge for a 9th straight NCAA tournament berth, and one that feels certain all the snow on campus will finally be gone in time for the home opener against Wisconsin Parkside on March 27th.
GVSU kicks off their season on February 22nd in Rosemont, Illinois against Lindenwood.
Finally, the Grand Valley State men's and women's track and field programs are hosting the GVSU Big Meet this Friday and Saturday. We'll have updates on the meet on next week's show.
And that's going to do it for us here at After the Whistle. I'm Noah Genson.
And I'm Mike Mahaffy. For all of us here, all game, all season, always on After the Whistle.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Jen and Gelo show. After a little 2-week hiatus, we had some weather issues, some holidays we had to celebrate, but we're back.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since we've been able to talk.
And a lot has happened.
Yes, this is our 2nd episode of the season, and a lot has happened. Some trades have went down. Some trades are looking like they're about to go down. But let's start with what has already happened, and that is Kristaps Porzingis is a member of the Dallas Mavericks. The Knicks traded Porzingis and a package of Tim Hardaway Jr., Courtney Lee, and Trey Burke to the Mavericks for Dennis Smith Jr., DeAndre Jordan, I think Wesley Matthews, and a first.
Yep.
And across the league, right when the news first broke, it was pretty clear that a lot of people had already declared Dallas a winner of the trade.
Yeah.
And I think we are both in agreement with that as well.
Yes, because it just doesn't make sense. We've never seen anything like this happen. We're a centerpiece of a franchise, a star player gets traded for the possibility of a superstar, for cap space. They're like, he was put in as a sweetener so they could get rid of the contract of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Courtney Lee. It's not like they were getting they didn't really get anything in return either. They got 2 expiring contracts,
which are going to be
and a young
offseason.
Point guard that's not very good. He's fine. He'll never be an all-star, if you ask me. I don't think so. He's not Kevin Durant's not going to look at Dennis Smith Jr. and be like, yo, I got to go play with him.
Exactly. And a lot of people also were a few people, I guess I should say, were talking about guys like Colin Cowherd were bringing up that this was actually a good move for New York. You know, you're moving on from a guy who's had these injury troubles and who's only played in, I think, 110 or 187 of the 200 or 300 games he could play in, or something like that. And that's concerning, but I think it's a skewed number considering that a full season's already from just this one injury.
Right, it's from an ACL, which is a major injury.
80-plus games is already from just this injury, so I don't think that's as big of a concern. I mean, you don't have anything you really can offer to KD, like you said. You can't show them. You can't show KD or Kyrie or Jimmy Butler or any of these free agents this summer what you have to offer. You have Kevin Knox, who's been fine this year as a rookie.
He's adjusting. He should be good down the road.
Alonzo Trier is a good scoring guard.
Was a surprise.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson's a fine piece. It's hard for him to stay on the floor, but there's just not a lot there without Kristaps that gives you any sort of hope to add any of these guys. I mean, Kevin Durant doesn't like I said, he's not going to look at this team and think he can contend in the East even. For how bad the East is, even if you add 2 stars to this team. At
the top, it's loaded though. Like that's the thing. And it just doesn't make sense for them because like this is what you're saying. Who is drawing them to this team? Like first of all, the Knicks are run horribly. They have one of the worst ownership groups in the league. Like it's on record, James Dolan is horrible. So like that's not drawing them in. The players aren't drawing him in. I mean, I guess players like Fizdale and players like playing at the Garden. You have to sell them on Madison Square Garden and maybe the prospect of getting to play with Zion Williamson.
Yes.
That's it.
And I guess in that sense, I mean, you can tell KD if you get that first pick, we got Zion,
which is great. Like, that's incredible.
If that's your third star in this scenario, then you're probably in good shape to be able to bring in another star.
For sure.
With that, but that's another. It's a lottery.
It's It's a 14%. Or what is it?
Yeah, it's 14% if you're in the top 3. Yeah, and so you're basically hoping that these guys will come to your team based off of what some ping pong balls are going to do in May. I mean,
it's absurd.
Yeah, what the Knicks did, while it makes kind of some sense because you're trying to clear cap space, you want to make sure you had to clear some contracts, it just doesn't make sense to move your franchise piece that you just drafted 3 years ago just to move some cap space.
Just for the prospect of Kevin Durant. Now, the only way it works out for them is obviously if they get
these
Kevin
stars.
Durant, or they get Kyrie. But like, there's a lot of people talking like someone from the Ringer is like, I'm going to be so mad if this is Tobias Harris and Boogie Cousins.
Exactly.
Which it very well could be.
They could max out
the
Boogie after this
taking.
year. They can max out Tobias, and you could get Cam Reddish at the 5th
exactly.
pick.
That's not bad, but it's average.
You don't trade it like
exactly.
We keep saying you cannot trade away your franchise guy for a hope.
No.
You're hoping that this stuff happens, but
on the flip side,
I think what Dallas did was really good, and
I
think what's very underrated is the acquisition of Tim Hardaway.
Yes, we were talking about this the last time we were on. We talked about how Dallas needs to get Tim Hardaway.
Yes, we're very smart. Bill Simmons gave me that idea, but that's I'm going to take it for myself.
It don't matter.
Anyways, you're bringing in a guy in Tim Hardaway who was the first option in New York, who should have never been a first option.
Absolutely not.
And he's going to be playing with a playmaker in Luka who can play make for anybody. He can get anybody the ball and get him into good scoring positions. And Tim Hardaway is a good enough scorer to when Kristaps does come back next year, because they've already announced that he's more than likely not going to see the floor this year. When Kristaps is back next year, potentially Tim Hardaway's your third, maybe even fourth option in the offense. And that's a great spot, even though the contract isn't great at $17 million a year.
That's a perfect role for him, though.
But that's a good role. And one thing that gets talked about a lot with Dallas is that it's not a very big free agent destination. No. So trading for a guy like Tim Hardaway, even though the contract's not good, it's going to be hard to get. We're going to have to overpay for a guy like Tim Hardaway anyways to come to Dallas. and then you have Kristaps now, a big star, and
Absolutely.
Kristaps and Luka might now be able to garner a third star to come.
What a pick and roll combo.
That's going to be great to see.
I can't wait to just see them on the floor. It's going to be great. You have a big, what is he, 7'3" guy who can shoot threes, who's a very good defender.
And then
with one of the best.
Guard.
Exactly. You can't beat that.
No.
I saw some people talking about Dallas needs a point guard now, but no, that's the whole reason they wanted to trade Dennis Smith Jr. is because Luka needs to be their point guard. That's what he's best at.
Yeah, and now Trey Burke was also brought over.
Which is also a sneaky good move. JJ Barea went down.
Courtney Lee's a fine shooter off the bench. I mean, it's not great, but it just adds another piece to Dallas.
For sure.
I mean, it's
depth.
Yeah, it's depth to your team when it wasn't depth you had. I mean, they're going to have both those guys next year, Tim Hardaway and Courtney Lee. I'm not sure. I think Burke was on a one-year deal.
Burke's expiring.
Yeah, and then you'll probably lock up Kristaps this offseason. And so...
You hope so.
You would hope so.
Because he said he was signing the qualifying offer, which means he would become an unrestricted free agent 2 years from now.
A lot of people are saying that it's sort of a bluff.
Probably.
From Kristaps. He's looking to get along.
He'll get there with Luka. They'll get along.
They're going to be just fine. He was at practice today. This is Monday. We're recording. And so he was at practice today, first time with Dallas, and everything looks like he's enjoying his time in Dallas right now. We'll flip to another big star, a center even, that's looking to get traded, Anthony Davis out of New Orleans. Today even, there was another trade offered by the Lakers that involved 3 of their big stars, a couple of filler pieces, and some draft picks. And you and I are in agreement that is too much. And the offer was Lonzo, Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lance Stevenson, Michael Beasley, Rajon Rondo, and 2 first-round picks. Which you're just mortgaging your future at that point. You know, you're mortgaging it for a guy that in a year and a half, I think you could easily get in free agency.
Yes. First of all, who else is left on that team? After you trade away both of the point guards on your roster, you trade away 2 young wings. I mean, you're just giving away your depth too. Like you lose Stevenson, you lose Beasley. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now you have to keep at least one of these guys.
I don't think the trade package is too much. Anthony Davis is an amazing talent.
I think it is too much for the Lakers at this moment.
Yes, at the moment. But as far as the package,
for the player, absolutely not.
No, they're not overpaying. But as far as looking at how the team's going to be constructed, if we just go on for the rest of the year, that's 5 guys because Beasley wasn't really getting minutes in the rotation.
Right.
That's 5 rotation players you're going to have to replace with Anthony Davis and Solomon Hill.
And for some reason, KCP is not in that deal.
Yeah, well, he has to sign off in every trade, I think, and
which is ridiculous.
Just because of the qualifying offer he signed. And so, I just don't think right now what the best move for the Lakers is to be moving every young piece they have that they've accumulated these last few years for one guy. And I know Anthony Davis is great, and I know
he's a top 3 player in the league, without a doubt.
And he would make the Lakers better, but
they're not going to win the West this year.
No, they're not going to win the West by making that trade. So is it, if they make that trade, is it them sending a signal that we don't care about this year? If we miss the playoffs this year even, it doesn't bother us because we're just going to retool for next year and hope to add some pieces this offseason.
I think it would have to. I mean, I don't think you can have LeBron and AD on a team and not make the playoffs.
No, they more than likely are going to make the playoffs, but it's not something, they're not looking to contend for the title.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I just think that, personally, I think you can give up 2 of those guys, but I don't think you can give up Lonzo. I feel like he's the perfect fit to play with those 2 guys. He passes as well as almost anybody. He defends really well. And I mean, you saw this year, he played really well with LeBron before they both started dealing with injuries. He's dealt with a lot of injuries already. But I think of all the guys that I personally wouldn't want to trade, it's them. I think we both agree, Brandon Ingram, whatever. You can have him.
Ingram was a guy I've been really high on the last few years, but just he's never shown any improvement. I don't know. There's teams out there that think he can still be a star.
Yeah,
which he
definitely
could be. He's only 21 years old. I mean, he's built 6'10", a good at a small forward position. I mean, he can score from anywhere. You would think. You would hope he can score.
Doesn't shoot the 3
not very well, no. And so, but there are some teams that'll still buy into him. But I believe Kuzma might be that guy that you want to keep because even though Lonzo's a guy you can play with those guys, when you have a team of 2 superstars with 2 superstars like that, I think in your bench unit you need somebody that can sort of carry the load. And I don't think offensively Lonzo has it enough scoring-wise to carry a load in a second unit. I think Kuzma can score enough in that second unit to help them out when AD and LeBron are both off the floor. That's why I think holding on to Kuzma might be a better idea for the Lakers other than Lonzo. I think if whichever one you hold on to, I don't think you're making a bad decision.
No, definitely not.
I think Ingram needs to be in any trade.
Yeah, he has to be. I don't think it's shown that he doesn't fit very well with LeBron.
No, and
he doesn't seem like comfortable playing.
He's got to have the ball in his hands a lot.
Exactly.
He needs to do a lot of which would be perfect. Kind of perfect for him in New Orleans, because when Drew Holiday's off the floor, you'll have him.
I think Drew works well off the ball, so like that would make sense. The best stretch we saw of Brandon Ingram's career was when Lonzo went down last year, and he was playing point forward. After that, he wasn't much. I mean, he hasn't ever been much outside of that little stretch where he got really hot.
No, and hopefully that is something that they can show to other teams, the Lakers, and hike his value up a little bit. But I mean, gosh, that package is just. It's too much right now for how the team is. You would have to bring in a bunch of rookies from your G League team and
have to like pray for buyout guys.
Yeah, I mean,
you'd probably sign Melo at that point.
Get Melo, so I mean, you'll be fine there. But last thing we want to talk about, we got to touch on the Pistons. They're struggling right now, as they have been all year. Blake's been playing solid. He just got his All-Star vote. He just got voted into the All-Star game.
Which is great. Like that's
he
really
definitely
good.
deserves it. Is there any trade on the top of your mind? We have the trade deadline on Thursday that could maybe help the Pistons enough to slip into that 7 or 8, possibly a 6 seed in the East, and maybe contend in the first round?
I don't think, realistically, probably not. But we were talking about one before the show that just makes the most sense for like what they would have to give up that would probably help this team just enough to where they could probably sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think it's that Terrence Ross trade. Like, that's the only one that makes sense, because I feel like all the other trades that I want to happen are just that. Like, they're just like things that I want to happen because I don't think that these players fit on this team, and I feel like they should be gone. But the Terrence Ross trade actually makes sense. You'd be giving away Stanley Johnson, maybe a couple second-round picks.
Yeah.
And then you're getting back a far superior player.
Yeah, you're getting back a guy who can go both ways.
Exactly.
Stanley's a good defensive player, and he can't. And he just can't carry the load enough. Offensively, to do really anything in the second unit. Which you'd think with his athleticism, he'd be able to take advantage of some guys in those second units, and he just can't offensively. With Terrence Ross, you're renting him out for the year.
Yeah.
He's on an expiring. But he adds something to your bench unit. He would certainly come off the bench. He'd probably close some games as well. But he adds some scoring and he adds some playmaking to the bench unit. And I think it's a little move, and it's not going to change the entire structure of the team. But I think it's a step in the right direction. Getting that negative offensive player off the team and adding a guy who doesn't really lose you much defensively, and he adds you a lot offensively. I mean, he's the single game scoring leader for the Toronto Raptors.
Exactly. Like he's one of those microwave guys.
He can go get by, like what Lou Williams did to the Pistons the other night.
Exactly.
He's 18 points in the that's the kind of guy you need to if you don't have a big star, you need a guy like him to be able to carry the load and just be able to go off.
And a nice thing that we can dream about is when you see the notification saying that the Pistons are interested in Mike Conley. Obviously, Mike Conley is exponentially better than Reggie Jackson. I have no idea what they would trade.
Yeah.
No idea how they would make it happen. But if they can make it happen, do it.
Yeah, the one thing that bothers me about the Mike Conley trade is that contract with the back problems and the leg problems that a 6'2" point
There's
guard
already
has.
one really bad contract. I mean, what else are you going to do? Why not just upgrade at the position if you can? You know what I mean?
As far as the contract goes, you're adding 2 more years onto that.
Yeah.
As far as what Reggie would be a restricted or an unrestricted free agent in 2020, and I don't think Conley would be until 2022.
But you're also getting superior play at the guard
That's
spot with a guy that's much better at facilitating. Really, he's just better at everything. Yes, the injuries are a concern. He makes a lot of money. But what else do they really have to do at this point?
I just don't think you can give up a first and then a young guy like Luke as well in a trade. I think you either do one or the other, if you have to throw in, if you can throw in Stanley, if Stanley's a guy that Memphis is intrigued in,
Grit and grind, baby.
You can bring Stanley over to Memphis.
Yeah,
I mean, if that Stanley's the young guy
he
on the
certainly
team.
helps the tank, which is what they're gonna do.
Yeah, he's gonna miss a bunch of shots for him.
That's
But Stanley could be a good filler piece as one of the young guys. I just giving up a shooter in Luke. I know he's been very, very hot and cold, but he shows flashes of being able to.
Yeah, you can't give up on him yet.
No, not yet.
Whereas Stanley Johnson,
I think it's time to.
You can give him away for a bag of chips for all you care.
Yeah.
Just get him out of there.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us today here on the Jen and Gelo Show. A lot of big news going on, and hopefully next week after this trade deadline, we'll have some even more big news for you. But until then, I'm Noah Genson.
I'm D'Angelo Starks. Peace.
Welcome back to the debut episode of Every Month is March. I'm Kellen Voss.
I'm Mike Mahaffy.
College football season is over. Clemson's really good. Alabama's really good. Jim Harbaugh's not very good. So we're going to talk about college basketball now. It is officially college basketball season. We can get into the thick of it. Let's go with the local teams first. Michigan Wolverines they were in the national championship game last year, and they've looked decided absolutely even better than they did last year. And I think that's just the combination of role players stepping up. What do you think, Mike, are some of the reasons why Michigan has taken a leap forward this year as opposed to last year?
Well, last year, I think it comes to a surprise to a lot of us that they were able to make that run. They had a very good end of the year last year going into the tournament, but the way that they were able to make it to the championship came to a surprise. They came well together. So I don't think anybody had the expectations for them to only have 2 losses at this point of the season.
Right.
They are looking great, and I think the biggest things are Xavier Simpson, for one.
Yeah.
He is well improved since last year, being able to direct the ball across the floor.
Real quarterback out there.
Yeah, he is playing phenomenal. He's been finishing very well at the basket. And his free throws, he struggled big time last year. They're a little bit better this year. But he's overall a better player.
And there's so many good free throw shooters on Michigan's team that they almost don't have to worry about it. They can almost take him out in that sort of a setting and bring in a guy like Eli Brooks or just have Jordan Poole run the offense at that point in the game.
He's impressed me. And I think one of the biggest losses, obviously, was the loss in Mo Wagner going to the Lakers.
Scored on Draymond Green the other night. That was fun to see.
Impressive.
That was fun to see, yeah.
But you have been very impressed, you said, about the person that stepped up in his place in John Teske.
Oh, John Teske has taken 2 or 3 steps forward in terms of his progression. He rolls to the basket super hard on screens. I would say the way I heard him described by a buddy of mine the other day that I thought was perfect was he's the best possible version of a Plumlee brother, which I think is the absolute, he rolls hard on screens, he's fighting underneath for every rebound, but at the same time he can explode for 17, explode for 18, be their leading scorer in certain halves.
Yeah.
And none of us expected to see John Teske do that. I think we all just expect John Teske to be a stereotypical, 7-foot white guy, just protect the rim, get rebounds. But he's shown that he can be a star player. And not only that, but the stepping up of guys like Jordan Poole and Isaiah Livers, they've stepped up talent-wise, kind of settled into their role a little bit, been able to both score out of their settings that they're in now. And with that experience they have of going to the national championship game last year, come tournament time, that's going to be huge, I think.
Definitely. This is the epitome of a Beeline team. They're a good three-pointing team, and they're hot and cold. But this team has just proven that they can come. They've struggled lately. Yes, when they had that loss to Wisconsin, they kind of had their struggles, just suffered another loss to
Iowa. That was pretty bad. Losing to 20 in Iowa court's pretty bad.
Yeah, but I think they'll be able to work through it because honestly, I think that's a humbling thing because they were undefeated. No one was expecting them to go undefeated, so I think it was a good thing to kind of step back, and I trust them that they'll be able to continue being a powerhouse.
It's funny that you said this is the epitome of a John Beilein team because the one thing this team does that other teams don't is play defense.
Yeah.
This team, that always used to be the weakness of John Beilein teams. Yeah, they can shoot threes all over the building. Yeah, Trey Burke's going to drive to the basket and make incredible plays. But defensively, they're just inconsistent. But this defensive team, led by, again, my man John Teske in the middle, is they're all over the place. Charles Matthews is college basketball's version of Kawhi Leonard. He's just all over the place, all length, everywhere you go. They just that starting lineup when you go Simpson, Matthews, Brett Zinkus, Teske, and Poole is just crazy good defensively, and the statistics show that they're a top 5 defense in college basketball. When it comes to tournament time, they're going to be able to stop prolific offenses, and that gives them a legitimate shot at a national championship, I think.
And you brought up a guy that we haven't even touched yet, and I don't know why. And the new freshman of Ignis,
He might be their best player. He's probably their best player. Yeah.
Because we haven't had. He's respected. What was it when ESPN dropped their final top 25 for the best player of the year? He's since Trey Burke. He's been the player. The first time that we've had this conversation with a star-studded player.
And he's a freshman, and he's only going to get better because there's no way he's going to the NBA this year. He's only going to get better at Michigan. He's going to be a star at Michigan for years to come. I know that opposing fans are going to hate him because he's got a punchable face.
Yep.
He's got the big teeth. He's got the hair slicked back. But I love seeing it on my team, and he's shown time and time again in clutch situations similar to what Blake Griffin's done on the Pistons that he can take control of the offense and just drive, whether just driving to the rim or shooting even contested three-pointers. I have a lot of faith in the kid already. He showed a lot of good things for me, and I'm hopefully that combined with the experience that Michigan brings will lead them to a lengthy tournament run yet again. Now let's go to the other big school in the state, Michigan State Spartans. They've kind of had a down year by their standards, but at the same time they're still in the top 10. They recently just lost to Indiana. A little bit of a crushing defeat there. You can't expect to win when you miss 12 free throws
something crazy like that. They're struggling.
Yeah, it seems like they really miss a lot of the star players like Jaren Jackson and Miles Bridges who left last year. And I think that the progression of guys that we've seen in Michigan's role players hasn't necessarily shown up for Michigan State as well.
I think the difference between this year that we see in years past was those star players that you said. They lost Miles Bridges, Jackson last year. And now, arguably their best player right now, Cassius Winston, he's pretty good. But they don't have those star-studded, put the team on my back players. But
they miss Langford, too, a lot. Yeah.
And we can see that they're struggling a little bit, but they're still projected to be a first seed, arguably. In the tournament.
They'll get like a 1, 2, or 3 seed in the tournament, probably.
Standard-wise, they're not having like years past, but they're still a dominant team.
You can't count them out, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cassius Winston, it's kind of a lot to put on his shoulders, being that the stars left, and he's kind of had the burden of trying to lead that Michigan State team, and that's a lot of pressure. And I frankly don't think he's been ready for it. He hasn't shown to be ready for it. The thing that frustrates me the most about that team is Nick Ward, because he scores a lot. We talked about this in the pre-show, but Tom Izzo gives him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to succeed, and he doesn't look like he wants to be there. And he doesn't look interested in the game of basketball. He looks like he gets tired really quickly. He's still not really in shape, which is like, dude, you're 2 months into the season, get in shape already. He doesn't have all the little things we talked about that John Teske does well. He doesn't do them. Yeah. And he had that great stretch his freshman year where he was putting up numbers. I think I saw somewhere that it was like he was putting up averaging 14 points in 19 game minutes, which is incredible to think about. But he's really regressed from that time. Really hasn't gotten any better. And so with him being one of your lead players and him missing a lot of the free throws that were missed in the Indiana losses, you don't like to see that as a Michigan State fan, I don't think.
Yeah, especially with them missing those star-studded players. You need a player like him to be stepping up in this time, but we're not really seeing that.
No, I think that the big man that should get more time is Xavier Tillman. Obviously, we haven't seen the big improvements from him, but I want to see if he can put up the same numbers that Nick Ward is putting up, if not better, if he's given Nick Ward's role. Because Tom Izzo just seems to randomly put Nick Ward in the star situations, and I don't think he deserves that personally.
Well, speaking about big men, I think it's time to talk about what everybody else is talking about.
I'm surprised we haven't brought him up yet.
I think we got to get to him.
Zion Williamson.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll go so far to say that he might be on that list of best athletes in sports that we've seen. That list of Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders. The sheer size that he has and the sheer athleticism he has. Every single dunk he has, his eyes are at the rim. It seems like you'd create a guy like that in a video game, but he's a real life person. It's crazy to watch.
And it's a big man like that in basketball to have that dominant kind of physicality, and then be able to shoot the ball too on top of it.
Yeah,
he's not bad from three.
No, and every single quote that the media has given him about, hey, should you shoot up this year? Hey, how would you feel about playing for this team or that team? He's handled them super well. Yep. He's a super mature kid. There hasn't been a player in a while who's lived up to all that hype, because we just saw Zion Williamson as just the big guy that could dunk in highlight tapes on Instagram. That was kind of the hype of Zion Williamson. 2-3 years ago, we would see him on our feeds oh, wow, he's putting up crazy dunks. He's putting up 50 points in high school game. This is crazy to see. The last guy that lived up to that hype, LeBron James.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to be the greatest basketball player to ever exist. LeBron James has that title, and I think he's going to have that title for a while. But if anybody's going to challenge him for the throne, Zion seems like the guy to do it.
And I liked how you brought up with how he handles the media, because I think the last thing I saw that he said when they were asking, like, hey, what team do you think you'll be playing for or want to play for? He was like, I mean, I'm open. I just want to play in the NBA, but right now I'm enjoying college. He's enjoying it. He's having a good time. And watching him, you can tell that he's having a good time out there.
Absolutely. And that Duke team with him and R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish is going to be crazy to beat come tournament time, just because with those 3 stars out there, might be the top 3 picks in the draft, honestly. It surprised me.
Arguably, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think they what do they have? 2 or 3 losses now?
Yeah.
I think it's also, you can't jump on them for that. Mm-hmm. They're young. A lot of them are freshmen, so they are going to have those stumbles here or there. But by the time we hit March and they're full on pressing together and meshing, they're going to be dangerous.
I think to wrap this up, the one thing we can conclude about this college basketball season is there's a lot more to go, and it's going to be a lot of fun. This is my these kind of years are my favorite years in college basketball, when there's not really an exact favorite. Years like 3 years ago when Kentucky had that stretch where they were undefeated, that's not as fun to me. But to see a year where you got Duke at the top, Gonzaga at the top, Tennessee at the top, Michigan and Michigan State are going to be in there. UNC's pretty good. It's really anybody's. I think there's a lot of teams could win the title this year, and I'm excited to talk about all of them on this show.
I'm excited.
Me too. So. Seems like with the way the basketball is being played, that every month is March, and that is also the title of this show. So continue to watch. Thank you so much for watching. That concludes our first episode. I'm Kellen Voss.
I'm Mike Mahaffy.
Hello and welcome back to the last edition of Unnecessary Roughness. Well, not necessarily the last. There's free agency and stuff we'll go into. But I'm joined today by our normal group of Mike and Joe, but we're also joined today by Noah and D'Angelo from the Jen and Gelo show, and we're just going to recap the NFL season and talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. It wasn't anything special, so we're not going to get too in-depth with that. But Joe, tell us why this Super Bowl was not the worst Super Bowl of all time.
Yeah, if you say the Super Bowl was boring, you're a simpleton.
Can you not move the mic?
All right, sorry. All right. All right, yeah. So no, that was awesome. You had 2 of the best coaching minds going at it. You had a team who's putting up 30-plus points consistently, and they were held to 3 points on a team on the defensive side of the ball in New England that was sold short all year. It was like Big Ten football. I love low-scoring games. You're sitting on the edge of your seat. Who's going to make a mistake first? And that was LA, and it ended up costing them the game. Like, everyone, I get offense sells, but defense wins championships. It was evident last night, and I get that my fandom and enjoy for the sport's on a different level, but I love seeing that low score, just defense, grind your nose, and first guy to flinch loses. That was the Rams. Sean McVay got out coached. The Rams are in a good spot. That's promising for them. But, no, it was awesome, man. And it was tough for the Patriots to play that whole underdog role, but they just proved it, man. They're alphas. Like, no one does it better than them. And they just continue to prove time and time again, and they get all this hate. And I understand that. When you're successful, people don't like you because they're jealous. They want the success. But can we just sit back and appreciate what's been done? In an NFL where the way it's set up, it's to create parity, so this doesn't happen. But Bob Kraft, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, they said, watch us. And in 18 years, they win 6 Super Bowls. We're not going to see that ever again from any player, head coach duo. We're just not. Even with all these young quarterbacks coming up, it's never going to happen again. So this is awesome. I love those low-scoring games. It was ugly, but it was a win. It's fantastic. It was an awesome game of football. So it was boring. Get out of here, because you're wrong.
I disagree on it actually being a defensive game. It was a game where Tom Brady played pretty good offense. The Patriots, actually, their offense, if you look at the numbers, granted, numbers versus actual what happened, the Patriots actually played a better offense. It's the Rams that just didn't show up at all. It was one good play. It was one team that played good and one team that just played like they didn't deserve to be there.
The Rams did not show up. That's what I want to say. One person didn't show up. One was mysteriously injured. We're not going to talk about
Gurley
it.
Situation
His knee is weird, whatever. Jared Goff didn't show up. That's it.
And whoever was supposed to cover Edelman didn't show up.
What are you supposed to do? Like, he's just running out routes. Come on. But Jared Goff didn't show up. He looked like Jeff Fisher was his head coach again, And he did. Did he not?
No, he did.
How many times did he look like it was like last year in Denver, Peyton Manning throwing ducks all over the field? But still, that Peyton Manning was more effective in the Super Bowl than this Jared Goff was.
Well, like
That's horrible. That you're not going to win a Super Bowl against a Bill Belichick coach team with a quarterback playing that way. He looked afraid. He wasn't ready for the moment, and that's it. It's simple as that.
Yeah, like we talked earlier, which I think was a big thing, is Goff is a play-action quarterback until he can learn to stand in that pocket, because New England shut down the run and effectively shutting down the passing game as well, so then they couldn't do anything. They got to him a handful of times, whether it be just pressures or, actual sacks. Yeah, it was huge for New England to be able to shut down that running game. It didn't help that you had the whole mysterious Todd Gurley, but because they couldn't run the ball, Goff couldn't throw it, and, McVay was, stuck with his hands in his pockets, and there was nothing he could do about it.
And I think, to go off what you were saying with him not showing up, I think the big reason why he didn't show up was the sole fact that the Patriots defense hasn't been special all year, but Bill Belichick is a genius. What has he done all playoffs? Played Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson was out. He took him out completely.
That was Chargers.
Huh?
That was the Chargers. Chargers played the Ravens.
And lost. So they played Chargers, KC.
I thought the Baltimore Ravens
The
played.
Ravens lost to the Chargers, and the Pats dominated the Chargers.
Okay. Yeah. My mistake. I apologize, publicly mistaken. But Bill Belichick, this game, schemed and completely took Jared Goff out of it. He was sacked 4 or 5 times, and even the times that he wasn't getting sacked, he had a hand in his face every time.
I mean, look at the interception he threw. Yeah.
Yeah,
and horrific.
Yeah. He just threw up that prayer, and that was the mistake that they had made. And, you were just watching all these, radio shows and post-game things this morning. The thing that makes Belichick so great is he adapts. Like, you give Belichick 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks too many. He's going to figure you out.
It doesn't help that the Rams run the same formation. I knew that would be a problem because they run the same formation, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. All the time they bring a guy in motion. There's not a lot of variation, even though they're a very, very good offense. They do it with a lot of deception, but you can't deceive Bill Belichick. He's going to break you down and pick you apart.
Yeah, just to go off of the Jared Goff play that we've been talking about, are we really surprised to see Goff struggle in this situation? Because since that Lions game, the Lions really figured out how to stop the Rams. They slowed down the offense, and they found a blueprint for other defenses to start stopping them. And since that Week 11 game against the Lions, this Ram offense hasn't looked the same since. This was one of the most high-powered offense. It was being compared to the Chiefs, and the Rams were getting compared to week in and week out. And the Rams sort of switched. Their defense started to step up, and the offense started to struggle. So I don't think we should really be surprised that Bill Belichick was able to out-scheme McVay. And I also don't think on the other side with McVay, I don't think this should be an indictment on him at all. He's a 33-year-old coach who's coaching in his first Super Bowl of all time. I don't think we can say the way he coaches against the greatest coach of all time. Exactly. And so I don't think we can say after this one postseason run that the way McVay does it is wrong, because he finally got to this point, and you have to learn. You have to learn from these mistakes, and I think McVay's a smart enough head coach to be able to learn from that. But yeah, I don't think I wasn't surprised Goff didn't show up to play, because he hasn't showed up to play in about 2 months.
I like that you brought up that whole Lions thing, because I was about to say, how nice is it that the Lions are mentioned on the post game of the Super Bowl in a nice way?
Yeah, I think Belichick
actually said, yeah, we took the blueprint that the Lions used and just churned it into our scheme.
Mm-hmm. Patricia's not dumb. I think we can all be okay with the hire of Matt Patricia, because something that you, D'Angelo, me, and Kellen were talking about the other night. They had a couple of really good defensive minds in Patricia and Flores, yes, who just got hired in Miami. So I just think that it was easy to be able to figure out, not easy, but someone was able to figure out how to stop this Rams offense, and it was an easy blueprint to figure out, and they saw a lot of defenses throughout the year and couldn't do anything against them because of that blueprint that the Lions brought up.
Now, I want to segue from the Super Bowl, since it happened.
Johnny Hecker had 9 punts last night. I mean,
should have been this. It should have been the MVP.
Yeah.
Gilmore should have been.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, I think we all agree Brady did not really deserve the MVP in that one.
No,
No,
Oh, he didn't? Edelman did? Okay, Edelman, yeah.
10 catches for 141 yards.
Take steroids during the offseason and sits out the first 4 games. Who cares? It's all good. Yeah.
So now we're going to segue away from the Super Bowl and talk about, I know you guys all kind of said you don't really want to touch on them, but we're going to talk about the Lions for a little bit because,
Talk about 'em for
I
a
mean,
second.
it's my team. I'm the producer, and I can say what we do. So, I do like what you said, how a lot of Lions fans who are kind of crapping all over this Matt Patricia hire. I think it's far, far too early.
It absolutely is, because this was something that we as fans don't like to look at are our stats. We never want to go look out and look at things. We watch the product on the field, and that's what we look at. We were a top 10 defense this year, okay? And with all of the ins and outs in the secondary that we had, the struggles we had at the beginning of the season, we gave up 42 points to the Jets. You added in pieces that were nice. Bringing in Snacks was good. Deshaun Hand turned into one of the best linemen in the league as a rookie. I mean, he was putting up great numbers. He was getting to the quarterback. You have guys around in this system, and I know I'm an optimistic Lions fan when I say this, but they're close. Okay, the offense got rid of all their pieces. They were injured on the offense, and that's where it struggled in the second half of the season. And so I think. I've said this on the radio show with D'Angelo. I've said this to everybody I've talked to. You add a couple pieces in a couple of key spots, which in this draft, we can address some of those needs. And in free agency, we can address some of those needs. And so I don't think that we're as far away as maybe some other people could think.
I don't think that they're close. No, I don't think that they're far.
I'm not saying
No.
they're Super Bowl contender.
But what are you
close.
saying they're like a piece away from then?
I think they could contend for the North next year. I think they
I
could contend for
guess.
the North next year.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not like we looked awful against the Bears defensively. We were able to slow them up on offensively. Our offense was so bad the second half of the year because we got rid of Golden Tate. Marvin Jones was in. We had
the worst OC that they could possibly have.
We got rid of an OC that does. We got rid.
I don't care about his name. He's the worst. He's the worst.
And you're bringing in a guy from Seattle who, when we would play Seattle during those years, I thought they had a pretty good offense that was run by Russell Wilson, and we had practice squad guys in the offense playing wide receiver. I didn't know who played in the last game against the Packers. So when you put all of that together, we have to realize that it might not have been as bad as what it looked like on the field.
It looked pretty bad.
It did look bad. I'm not disagreeing.
They lost to
with
the
you.
Bills.
No, yeah, Josh Allen's a goat. So don't worry
Okay.
about it.
Okay. Listen.
Whoa.
Listen.
Whoa.
Trash. First of all, just trash. Fact. Trash. Anyways, I'm not talking about that bum because he's not worth talking about. I think the biggest source of optimism for this team is the amount of money they have going into this offseason. They can make some moves. Like there's guys out there to get. Trey Flowers might be available. He'd be a really good get on the interior defensive line. Like you said, they can address the edge and the draft. I'm not out on the Patricia hire. I'm just in the middle. I'm not getting my hopes up because I'm tired of having them let down. I'm just gonna stay in the middle. I'm gonna stay cool. And if they make me look like I was wrong for saying about like this team, then I hope that I'm wrong. That's why I'm approaching this hoping to be proven wrong. That's how I feel.
I just real quick, I feel like we brought in Patricia to fix the defense, and he did that. He made the defense better with the same team he had last year. Essentially, we brought in a couple of new guys. We traded like I said, we traded for Snacks, but he made the defense better. And unfortunately, our offense dropped from the production we had last year. That's just what happened. And so, like I said, bringing in a new guy on offense, bringing back from what Patricia had this year for us, bringing in new guys, I don't think that we'll be in the doghouse for very long. But, we've been in the doghouse for 50 years, so why not make it even longer?
That is the one thing with bringing in Patricia, like you mentioned, fixing the defense. You can fault him for keeping Jim Bob Cooter, which is a very reasonable thing to do. But I think last year his goal was just coming in, fixing the defense, and he didn't want to disrupt the offense too much. And that's why he kept Jim Bob Cooter. He's not an offensive guy. And I think at that time he just thought it was the better option to keep Jim Bob because he has a relationship with Stafford. And the offense had kind of been okay at that point. But obviously, it failed in the end. The offense just went totally downhill because Jim Bob Cooter kept throwing guys like Bruce Ellington out there to play the Golden Tate role, when no one can play the Golden Tate role besides Golden Tate, who's a free agent and did not do that well with the Eagles.
They could bring him back.
They won't bring him back. He's going to be way too much for his production. You can get him for cheap, but that's with everyone if you can get him for cheap. I mean, if you could get Bill Belichick for cheap.
I mean, would Golden Tate's value really be that high though? Where like you could bring him back?
Someone's gonna bring him back for too much money.
I mean, he is 30, 31.
Exactly. So like
I don't think his
you can get him cheap
price
still,
is
even in
going
the
to be up
free
very
A.
high.
Go get yourselves a Mac. You
I'd
got
rather
the
get
defensive-minded
defense.
coach. You got money to spend.
I'd rather go defense.
I'm looking like DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, if they could bring in DeMarcus Lawrence,
That is a lot of money, but I think
It
but you,
works.
at this point you
Listen,
have to spend
it
that
works.
money.
You spend money on defense.
The biggest issue that a lot of Lions fans have had in free agencies the last few years, they've had money.
Touche.
And they've been spending it on these one-year rental players that haven't been churning out to anything. I mean, Blunt, he was the worst running back in the NFL this season.
he went onto the field and it just looked like.
I mean, when there's 3 yards difference between Blunt to, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you have a competent offensive coordinator, Blunt's not getting carries. But this year they have a lot of money, and they got to stop with this one-year rental plan that they've been going with. Luke Wilson did not do anything, so I'm kind of glad they went with the one-year deal there. But you got to take some risks in this part, and in this same free agency that someone's going to spend $15 million a year for Ansah, it's going to happen. Edge rushers are so overvalued at this point. It's not going to be. I hope it's not the Lions, but at this point, you need to get a DeMarcus Lawrence. You have to spend this money. You need to get Lawrence, Flowers, somebody that can generate a pass rush. So
I think a guy like just Dante Fowler. I think at 25 years old, I mean he was the 4th linebacker in that Rams unit, and he in the minute or the snaps he got, I think he gave him good time out there, and he got to the quarterback in his limited time. From the trade from Jacksonville. So I think he could be a guy, especially with the age. I think the age is a big thing. At 25 years old, that's an extra year you could get out of him.
If you go after a guy like Fowler, you could also make a run at a guy like C.J. Mosley. So you could, like, instead of making like the big DeMarcus Lawrence signing and then just like getting a bunch of other smaller ones, you could get like a Flowers and a Mosley or a Fowler and a Mosley. Like, I'd like to see something like that. But also, of course, I'd love to see DeMarcus Lawrence in a Lions jersey. Of course.
I think also this draft is one of the biggest drafts in depth of pass rushers. So I think even we could get someone pretty good, like in one of our other needs, which is pretty much anywhere, and then sit and get a second round defensive rusher, and he'd still be pretty good. So I think we have a lot of hope, because the biggest thing is, yes, we can do something stupid and go out and get like an offensive player in the first round and still
I
get.
wouldn't be surprised to see it, honestly, at this point.
That's the Lions, but the biggest thing is Matt Patricia is a defensive mind. So as you guys are saying, they want to focus on the defense.
But like Noah said also, at the end of the year, we were playing with these practice squad receivers.
And
I mean, even next year coming back, Marvin Jones and Galladay is not enough.
No.
They're missing tight ends. They're missing receivers. Theo Riddick might not be around this year because if they cut him, they get I think it's like $5 million in cap relief. So
What direction would you go for that?
See, there's.
Johnson, give him the ball 100 times.
Well, yeah, you give Kerryon Johnson.
Stafford to throw it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm saying I would not be surprised to see the Lions go wide receiver 8. Honestly.
I mean, you can't reach for a guy like Hollywood Brown or anybody at 8. I think, I think if you go, you could potentially go edge rusher at 8, and then you could hit on a guy. And even if Hollywood goes late, N'Keal Harry, I think N'Keal Harry would be the perfect. I think N'Keal Harry is a perfect pick. He's a big body guy. You know, we have 3 big body or 2 other bigger body guys. I mean, Marvin Jones is 6'1".
I wouldn't really. Yeah, he's not really bigger bodied.
But if you have Kenny Galladay and N'Keal Harry, I mean that's a couple of guys you can build around on your offense with Stafford for a long time. I'm not worried about Bob Quinn drafting. Bob Quinn has not. Okay, one pick in the second round. Okay, sorry.
Jimmy Landis.
You drafted him in the 6th. From rounds 1 through 5, he's done a fantastic job.
I mean, to pull Jamal Agnew out of there.
Deshaun Hand in the 4th this year. Tracy Walker, who showed some people hated Tracy Walker at the draft, but he showed a lot of good things. I mean, in the San Francisco. Killebrew has been. I was really high on Killebrew coming out of the draft.
But I think the problem with Killebrew, and I didn't want this to turn into what the Lions should do this offseason. That's a time for a different episode.
Too late. Yep, we're already
the
there.
problem with Killebrew is I think he's just now in the wrong formations. He's in the wrong. I mean, I would love for him. I know a lot of people say he should play that linebacker safety hybrid, but I just think at this point he's not. He was more for a Jim Caldwell scheme, not for Matt Patricia's scheme.
Maybe they can move.
Yeah, maybe you can move him. You never know. Maybe we should move on. I think a good way that we can end this. How about one thing you're looking forward to seeing for next year? I can start. Just give me more Pat Mahomes. I'm so excited to see this. In his first full year as a starter, he obviously won MVP, he threw for 5,000 yards. I can't wait to see what he does next. He's probably going to break the touchdown record at some point. How many MVPs will he win? I don't know. Maybe 5. We'll see. 3? We'll see. He's 23 years old.
Mitch, Deshaun.
Technically.
There's a lot of young dudes.
You did not stop. You said Mitch Trubisky could win an MVP.
Could.
You got to go off of that.
We gotta wrap this up.
I mean, let's go. I mean,
what are you looking forward to next year, Joe?
what am I looking forward to next year? Back-to-back NFC North champs. Get the first round bye. Take care of someone in the divisional round. It'd be a Bears Chiefs Super Bowl. BDN ain't gonna be in my head. No. He's not gonna be a problem. He's gonna be somewhere else. No, but yeah, I mean, the only thing I have to say for the Bears offseason is find a new kicker. They'll be all right. Re-sign. Got to bring back Danny Trevathan. A lot of their pieces are locked up, so no, they'll be back. Like, I want the Lions to be good. Like, I don't even dislike Detroit. Like, I have no problem with Detroit. Like, I dislike Green Bay. I just want the North to just be awesome. You know what I'm saying? Because then that makes everybody better. Like, if you have 4 good teams in the North, it's some good old-fashioned black and blue football. It'd be the best 6 games of the season once you play in the division. So I want the whole damn division to be good. And I don't think the Lions are that far off.
I like this.
It gets, trust me, man.
You said Mitch Trubisky could win an MVP.
Yeah, I know.
An
MVP.
MVP.
I know.
Mitch Trubisky.
Hey, man.
You know
Hey,
what
man.
we're dealing- look
I
what
don't
we're
care.
dealing
You
with,
cannot
man.
be that delusional. An MVP?
Hey, man, this is just the beginning.
No.
It's just the beginning.
No.
Pro Bowls.
On to Mike.
So I'll talk about someone who could actually win an MVP next year. Andrew Luck. He coming off of missing a year and a half plus, putting up the numbers that he did. He struggled for the first 4 games, but it's because he's got a young team. They're gonna come back together next year. Andrew Luck's gonna win MVP. Darius Leonard is gonna win Defensive Player of the Year for all I care. He led the league in tackles this year. You can't disrespect him. This team is young. They're going to be put together. Frank Reich might win Coach of the Year next year.
Yep.
You know, he was up for it this year as his first year.
That's what I was gonna say. The only other that was what I was gonna say. The only other person who I would have wanted to see win Coach of the Year besides Nagy was Reich. Because the way the Colts started, 1-5,
Yep.
they turned that around. Like, the Colts were fun to watch this season. See Andrew Luck get back into. Things happen, but what are you gonna do?
In that young experience, like, that team is an explosive powerhouse. They're gonna beat them no matter what. I had my hopes, but this Colts team, maybe not next year, but they're looking good and they have
12 wins in the South, you think?
I think with the way that the rest of the South is going.
He's gonna draft well, and they're gonna be good.
With the way the rest of the South is going, I think
I'm
it's
gonna-
going to be easy.
I'm going to move.
Whack. Jacksonville. Whack.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm going to move to a different division in the AFC. I'm going to talk about the AFC North and the newly crowned 2019 Browns are going to be winning the NFC or the AFC North next year. I can see it. They're going to draft well this year. They got Baker. They got so many guys around. I can't wait to see this. This next year is going to be the year that we figure out if the Browns are finally. It's like the process. We saw them sort of with Joel his rookie year.
Yeah.
We sort of saw him play well. We saw some sparks. I mean, they had 8 wins this year. That's really good. And now we're going to see. Next year is going to be the year. Are the Browns legit contenders now with what they've built? And I think they could be. I definitely think they could, especially in the North. You don't know what you're going to get with Baltimore, where they're going to go with what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. He was good in the regular season. I don't know after that playoff game. You just don't. what can running quarterbacks do, and we don't see it work out very often. Pittsburgh is a reality TV show right now. Ben Roethlisberger is past his prime. You have Le'Veon and Antonio Brown leaving this offseason, and then Bengals have the QB coach of the Rams coming in. What was it? Zach Taylor.
Because he had a conversation with McVay. They're like,
boom. I've met Sean McVay before, I think. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know I have an NFL job if I know him. But no, I'm really excited to see this young Browns team finally come back, and it's going to give me hope that the Lions could maybe do something.
I mean, yeah, and like you brought up the process. How long were the Sixers considered a joke because they were trust the process? The Browns have been a joke for even longer than that, and I'm honestly believing this point could be their turnaround point.
The only difference between those two is Philly was doing this all with an end
purpose.
goal. The Browns were just so horribly run that they fell into Myles Garrett. They fell into Baker Mayfield. They had legitimately one of the worst coaches ever.
Oh, yeah.
Ever?
You?
Like, literally, they got lucky that they were so poorly run. But yeah, that's the only difference. But yeah, I'm excited about this team. Like, Baker's good. I don't think there's any doubts about that. Baker's good. And Myles Garrett is a potential defensive player of the year candidate moving forward. Yeah. The guy's a wrecking ball. They're going to be phenomenal. Denzel Ward is a lockdown corner. They got playmakers at every level. And I mean, what? Yeah, sure.
He's good.
Yeah, he can kind of. He's okay.
At the end of the last game of the season.
Yeah, he's whatever. He's whatever. He's whatever. Jabril Peppers is fine. He's whatever.
What the Browns need to avoid doing is what the Lions did between 2011 and 2014, is hitting that. They're good one year, then they kind of fall, and then they're good another year, and then they fall. They need to avoid that, and that's kind of where you can't really draw too many comparisons between the Lions of then and the Browns from now, besides they were both coming off of really historically bad seasons and got a young quarterback and then turned it around. You got to hold. So that's pretty much the only comparison you can draw between them. I think they have a better coach lined up right now than Jim Schwartz was. So I think the Browns can do it better than what the Lions did. I think they're coming off of this 0-16 campaign from 2 years ago much better. Or was that 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Much better than the Lions were doing when they did it.
Yeah, and I mean, look at this conversation. We've just had this little part here for the last 5 minutes. Now, I know you like to get on me about Mitch, whatever, but the future of the NFL is bright. Yeah. Like, once this New England dynasty dies, it is going to be so much fun. Because you really don't know between young quarterbacks and even young skill positions on teams with maybe, like, the NFL is going to be awesome for a while. In the hands that it's in, it'll be awesome.
I think we saw this year a transition to what the NFL, a glimpse of what the NFL is going to be like. Because we've been blessed the past 15 years seeing these dominant quarterbacks leading teams: Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers. We've been blessed. Now we're seeing these young guys that are more exciting, not playing old-fashioned football. They're hybrid. Pat Mahomes is throwing balls, not even looking. Like, this is exciting football. And then we have a bunch of other young guys. Like, we don't really know what we're going to see with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. But it's going to be exciting. There's going to be a quarterback battle right there. It's just this NFL is transitioning into something exciting.
Yes.
I say the thing I'm most excited about next year, and that's going along with that, is all these young quarterbacks. I think right now, in the way the NFL is, you have more quality quarterbacks in the NFL right now than you have ever before. I mean, you start going through all those quarterbacks that you listed. Mahomes, Watson, Trubisky. I'm not as down on Trubisky as everyone else.
He's like 18. He's like 18, 19.
But he's still a young guy who can potentially still develop. And then you got like the Wentzes, the Goffs, all of these. Yeah, Andrew Luck. I'm going to throw Stafford in there. I know Homer, but whatever.
He's just probably older, I think, at
he's
30.
What, 30?
30 yeah.
But he's been in the NFL since 2009.
Yeah.
So I'm still, all these quarterbacks, all these young quarterbacks, I think, are leading the NFL in a way different place, like Mike said, than we've been used to with pretty much immobile guys playing quarterback.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a resurgence of the running back. It's changed. Le'Veon Bell has changed the running back position, and there was a gap since LaDainian Tomlinson and Adrian Peterson were but we are seeing this resurgence of the running back position, and it's exciting. They're pretty much wide receivers now coming off the backfield. You were talking about how good Alvin Kamara is. I agree. Do I think he's a top 5? We'll see. But Todd Gurley's amazing. Melvin Gordon's amazing. These running backs,
we didn't even get to see Le'Veon Bell this year.
He's going to come back. Who knows where he's going to end up? Hopefully the Colts.
Indy.
But Marlon Mack is exciting. So it's different, but it'll be exciting. And I think the way defenses are changing, there's a lot of pass rush, exciting players on defense. This NFL's going places.
If Bell ends up on the Colts, you guys are definitely winning the South. I'm just throwing that out there.
I think it's already given. It's trash again.
I mean, I feel bad for the Titans thinking that they had, something there with Mariota, but
they have one of the best offensive lines in the
football
whole league. And they can't do anything about it.
Mike Vrabel, I love him as a head coach, man.
So
Not to mention the defense is pretty good too.
we're going to come back with Unnecessary Roughness once free agency
We're
starts.
going to have to. Joe can't stop talking about football. We got to talk about
And
football
we're not
sometime.
starting an AAFL show.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Make sure to watch AAF this Saturday on CBS, I believe at 8 o'clock, doubleheader. Go San Diego Fleet.
Let's wrap her up.
Yeah, we're wrapping it. So thanks for watching all season. We'll be back when free agency gets ready to kick off, and then we'll be back after that with the draft. So we'll see you guys all then.